Hey y'all, welcome to Figuring It Out with me, Kelly Renee. We're all figuring it out. How to live the life we want, living our truth, living authentically. It's so good to see y'all today. I'm so happy you stopped by. I don't know where you're at, but I am currently in northern Ohio in the cold and the snow. But tomorrow morning I'm headed out of town to visit my brother for a few days. It's been months since we've gotten together and I'm so excited. Plus, I get to see my favorite nephew too. So this week is Transgender Awareness Week, leading up to the Transgender Day of Remembrance on Sunday, November 20th. The number of transgender people who lose their lives to senseless violence each year continues to grow. And many times these deaths are fueled by hate. The premise of Transgender Awareness Week is really raising awareness for the transgender community. We're just not another marginalized group. The struggles we face today are unique to who we are and how we are or aren't being allowed to live our lives. State legislators from across the country have presented carbon copied bills and in many cases passed these bills in what appears to be a coordinated political attack against our children and the transgender community overall. The amount of misinformation is almost laughable, if not for the fact that the uninformed are buying the falsehoods and stories hook, line, and sinker. Our country has a history of demonizing people who are different. Gay and lesbian people, under the auspices of the federal and many state governments, were harassed, jailed, and persecuted relentlessly for years. It seems persecuting the trans community is now in vogue again. History repeating itself. I read a book earlier this year called The Gay Revolution, The Story of the Struggle by Lillian Faderman, who did in-depth research and more than 150 interviews collecting passionate accounts of injustice toward gay, lesbian, and transgender Americans who, like us, are just in pursuit of basic civil rights. While progress has been made, it seems we're repeating history. Only this time, these targets are transgender youth specifically, and the transgender community more generally. There was a day when being called a pedophile or being accused of lewd behavior was code for being gay or lesbian. Now, according to many conservative politicians, being trans or supporting trans people means you are a groomer or going after someone's kids, or even an unfit parent abusing your child for loving and supporting them in their questioning or transition. No matter how ludicrous it is, the uninformed blindly accept that crap as gospel, which makes me wonder, what other falsehoods are they accepting as gospel? You see, it's why politicians can claim they're protecting kids when in reality what they're doing is scoring political points with their base at the expense of real people doing the best we can like everyone else. What's really interesting is the very values these politicians claim to embrace are the values they're attacking for us who are trans or part of the LGBTQ community. It's a bold perversion of freedom for all of us. So, what does it mean to live your truth? Does it mean sharing your experiences in an honest, transparent, and vulnerable way? Does it mean sharing what you've been through to get to the place you are today? Does it mean sharing ideas and needs and convictions and in some cases boundaries? And to what purpose? It's not uncommon to hear people remarking, we need to speak our truth or we need to live our truth or speak truth to power. For me, the purpose is very clear. Politicians can make outrageous claims because there aren't enough people who know a transgender person or family. There are people manipulating the truth because of the uninformed masses, including the very politicians who have sworn to protect their country and her people. Have you thought about what living your truth means in practical day-to-day terms? I think sharing our stories is an important part of life. We're all different, yet we share common experiences, emotions, and yes, many frustrations. I recall one senior manager where I used to work telling me he admired my courage for when I came out as trans. Honestly, the process of coming out can be exhilarating and frightening at the same time. I wasn't thinking about courage so much as I was thinking about reconciling who I am and not hiding it any longer. I've been fortunate in that I've been able to separate who I am from who other people think I should be. In the process, I've come to understand that people will always have their own thoughts and feelings, and they're welcome to them. It's not my job, nor is it my responsibility to try to persuade you to agree with me. I can freely share my truth, and if you choose not to accept it or me, that's on you. The good news is you can get there too. I say that because I know a lot of people who live in fear and self-condemnation because they struggle with living their truth in a world where others don't value them or approve. And what I find is that brings up a lot of shame. When I share my truth and it can help someone else going through similar circumstances, then that's a good thing because helping others aligns with my values. I'm not typically a confrontational person, so for me, intent and motive are very important. I've been guilty, as I'm sure many of us have, of not being open to others' ideas and thoughts. And yet, as I get older, I find myself being a little more patient and a lot more thoughtful and willing to listen. So I wonder if those of us living our truth have taken the time to outline what that truth is and why we believe it. Sometimes journaling helps, making a diagram, creating a flow chart, making mental maps and idea maps can be helpful too to kind of put a timeline or a progress chart on how we've gotten to the place that we are. As a visual person, seeing things in front of me is very helpful. One caution though, oh my, be careful not to get too caught up in the methodology or the tool you use. See, it's easy to go down rabbit trails and lose sight of the goal, especially if you have ADHD like I do. Rabbits, rabbits everywhere. Oh. The point is simply to get your thoughts on paper. And that can bring incredible clarity in defining and articulating who you are. And as you share your truth with others, these simple tools can support acceptance for yourself, which is the most important of all. Plus, it helps make what you are sharing easier for your audience to understand. Barring the conservative political attacks we're seeing today, my experience has found most people to be accepting of who I am as a transgender woman, especially once they get to know me. There will always be some who will make it their business to be offensive, and they're not the norm in my experience. Brene Brown talks about how difficult it is to hate someone you know. I don't recall the book it was in. She's written so many good ones. But her point is valid. It's much easier to be accepting and tolerant of someone you know versus an abject stranger. I mean, let's face it, when we see someone else's kid acting out, it's pretty easy to become judgmental. And when our kids act out, it's just as easy to be understanding. Building relationships and telling our stories is such an important step in the reconciliation process. As more and more people are exposed to the transgender community, the easier it will be to help people see the truth about who we are. We're real people just like them, with families and jobs and mortgages, and doing the best we can just like their family is. This normalization process begins with each of us doing our part for ourselves and the community at large. All right, a couple final thoughts to share with you. suggestions for your consideration. It's like a buffet. Or after all the years I spent in the restaurant business, here's the hors d'oeuvre tray. Choose what you like. Leave the rest. So here's my thoughts. Get clear on your truth. Know your values and what's important to you. Learn how to articulate it well. Share your story with others. Yeah, that's important. Keep showing up. Don't give up. We can't fail if we don't quit. Allow other people to have their own thoughts, and don't let those thoughts discourage you or hinder you in pursuing your goals. The last thing I'm going to leave you with, some days are going to be harder than others. Know who you can count on for support when you need it, and don't be afraid to reach out. I'm thinking about y'all today. You are valued. You are loved. You are oh so precious. And remember, life's too short. Be kind. Do good. Let's talk soon. One more thing before you go. I want to thank you for stopping by. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen and watch. If you like what you see, please like, comment, review, and subscribe. And if you don't, no problem. Don't worry about it. We'll see you soon.